News Network between the headlines. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. It's Monday, and we've got lots of news we're going to get at right now. It is 6:54 p.m. in Washington, 82 degrees and sunny, and we're going to kick things off with our White House rundown. Good evening. I'm Gary Franchi, Next News Network Chief White House Correspondent, delivering the latest White House news from the past 24 hours in partnership with our streaming partner, Trump Daily Post. Tonight, the White House drove one message above all others. Trump accounts are now officially live. Millions of American children are already signed up. Major private support is pouring in, and the administration paired that launch with fresh economic wins on pricing, manufacturing, and American strength. The White House central focus today was the official launch and explosive early success of Trump accounts. The administration cast the program as a direct investment in America's future, highlighting that millions of children are already enrolled, corporate backing is building fast, and the broader message from the day is clear. The Trump administration is pressing a results-driven agenda built around family finances, domestic industry, and national pride. The White House said that President Donald J. Trump marked the launch by ringing the opening bells of both New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ from the Oval Office. Trump accounts created under the Working Families Tax Cuts Act give eligible American children a tax advantage path to build wealth, including a one-time $1,000 seed investment for children born between January 1st of 2025 and December 31st of 2028. The White House said that more than 6 million accounts have already been requested, and more than 86% come from families earning less than $200,000 a year. From the pool report, reporters gathered at the White House this morning ahead of the anticipated Trump accounts launch on a warm, partly cloudy day in Washington. The golden bell engraved with Trump accounts stood in the Oval Office for the joint bell ringing tied to the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. 9 children stood in front of the Resolute desk as key figures, including Senator Ted Cruz and National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett, who also took part in the event. Also from the pool reports, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent opened the ceremony before President Trump rang the bell at 9:30 a.m. to loud applause. The president hailed the official launch, celebrated the program, and tied it to a broader message that the country is stronger. Also from the pool reports today, President Trump projected confidence in the economy and said companies building cars in the United States will avoid tariffs. He praised domestic factory construction, predicted a major economic boom, and returned repeatedly to the administration's push to build financial security for American children. Senator Ted Cruz also thanked the president during the Oval Office event for stepping in on a World Cup issue involving what Cruz called a ridiculous red card. President Trump wrapped his Oval Office remarks at 10:42 a.m. after touching on cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, and the need for the United States to lead rather than let China take the advantage. He also announced a new White House helipad funded entirely by Sikorsky, with construction details centered on upgraded helicopter operations and White House grounds protection. President Trump praised the World Cup's enormous audience and said he's spoken with FIFA President Gianni Infantino and pointed to huge viewership projections and voiced support for a review of the controversial red card involving Valerian Balogun. Also from the report, the president moved to a Rose Garden Club lunch just before noon, entering to Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA, as guests stood and applauded. Also from the pool reports at lunch, President Trump defended plans for a new White House ballroom, tied it to secure hosting for major world leaders, and said that President Xi of China is expected to visit before the end of September. He also returned to Trump accounts, praised the stock market, emphasized merit in education and military recruitment, and said he's ready to help states battling crime if asked. Also, the president, he thanked major companies supporting Trump accounts, highlighted tax advantages connected to the program, and pointed to gains in 401k plans before closing the event with music from what he called the Trump playlist. In a later pool detail from the launch, President Trump said the United States has the hottest stock market in history, signaled continued firmness on Iran not obtaining a nuclear weapon, and said crime in Washington has fallen sharply through cooperation with local authorities and military involvement. He also described the planned new ballroom and military center as highly secure and built for future administrations. And from the daily guidance, the schedule also included executive time, the Oval Office Trump accounts launch, the Rose Garden lunch, a meeting with the National Border Patrol Council Executive Committee, and a policy meeting before the president departs for Ankara, Turkey. On Tuesday and Wednesday, the president is set for arrival events, bilateral meetings, NATO sessions, and a press conference before returning to Washington. The White House placed a lunch lid in effect until 1:40 p.m., marking a routine midday pause in public activity. The White House also said that Vice President J.D. Vance will travel to Milwaukee on Wednesday to deliver remarks on the Trump administration's work combating fraud. Taken together, the past 24 hours showed a White House pushing a strong family-centered economic message, spotlighting Trump accounts as a signature policy win, reinforcing confidence in American industry and markets, and keeping the president active on diplomacy, security, and the road ahead. That is the latest from the White House. Now let's turn to the rest of today's top stories across the country and around the world. Lots of news we'll be covering today in this live broadcast on X at Next News, as well as Trump Daily Post, and on our flagship YouTube channel, and on Rumble. So we're going to be talking about the latest out of Iran. Also, we'll get more details on the Trump account launch. Also, massive blackout hitting Cuba. We're going to bring you the latest on President Trump's next moves there. Also, we're going to have more details on Paul Pelosi's hit and run. Yes, the Pelosi's are back in the news, and it's not good for them, so we're going to get you the latest on that. Also, an indictment has been handed down regarding the reflecting pool. We'll have more details from there. And also, we'll bring you some news on the Charlie Kirk assassination trial, which began today as well. And Ruby Hoove dropping $5. Trump is on a roll. Bless him for all his hard work on our behalf. Absolutely. Thank you, Ruby, for that support. And with that, we're going to get started with our first story of the evening. And also, we're going to get you some information on Mitch McConnell, his health. Apparently he's brain dead, according to sources. So we'll have some details on that. President Trump just said Iran's power plants could vanish in a small part of an afternoon. And he said it after oil dropped lower than before the operation. So think about that. The regime media screamed catastrophe. Democrats pushed the usual gas price panic. They got humiliated. Trump boxed Tehran in, crushed the fake Hormuz hysteria, and now he's telling the Ayatollahs flat out, we're going to win one way or the other. Then the cameras rolled at Khamenei's funeral, and the whole rotten picture snapped into focus. Death to America in the streets. A Target hit list with President Trump on it, and an ex-Elizabeth Warren staffer cheering it all on. You need to see how all of it fits together, because it matters, because Trump just proved something every American family felt in their wallet during the Biden years. Weakness costs money. Strength cuts the price of panic off at the knees. Trump said oil now sits lower on a barrel basis than before the operation, lower. After the media cartel and every Democrat doom peddler tried to sell you another Middle East price shock. Well, they lied again, and Trump didn't trigger the catastrophe. He blocked it, and he did more than that. He stripped Iran of leverage. He made it crystal clear there will be no nuclear weapon, period. His words were brutal because reality is brutal. Make the right deal or America can finish the job, and it won't be tough. That protects American families from terror, from another energy squeeze, and from paying later in blood, because weak men in Washington gave Tehran another fake diplomatic lifeline. Then comes the domestic rot. While Iranians screamed death to America, Calla Walsh, a former Elizabeth Warren staffer, flew to Tehran and glorified Khomeini. That's not edgy activism. Calla Walsh sided with America's enemies. And when a regime can lose its leverage in an afternoon, ask yourself how secure your own money is if it only exists on a screen. Everyone cheers AI in the cloud until a bank hack hits. Code locks your account and your savings get frozen by a keystroke. Noble Gold Investments gives you something real, physical gold and silver, a coin you can hold, a bar you can stack, wealth that doesn't live on a server and can't be erased by code. You can even place physical gold in a tax-advantaged retirement account or get metal shipped to your door. Go to nextnewsgold.com, mention my name, and claim a free 10-ounce U.S. Independence silver bar when you open a new qualified account. In dangerous times, owning something America can't lose with one cyber hit. And now here's the detail that should make every DHS official sit bolt upright. Yes, this was not just a funeral crowd blowing off steam. Khamenei supporters held up a Target-style hit list that included President Trump and Laura Loomer. Not hidden, not whispered, displayed publicly. And while that happened, an American left-leaning activist stood in Tehran and called Khamenei the greatest anti-imperialist leader of her lifetime. And I'm going to show you the posts and let you see the receipts for yourself, because once you watch the chants, the signs, and the names, nobody gets to play dumb anymore. Here's President Trump in the Oval Office just a few hours ago. Oil is now on a level.
Oil is now at a level that it was, I think it's even lower on a barrel basis than it was before we started. We've gotten concessions. Now, they have to hold those concessions, but there'll be no nuclear weapon. We're going to be getting the, as I call it, dust, the enriched material, nuclear dust, I call it. Seems to have taken off, but it's enriched material. We're getting it. We're getting it. I went in for one reason, very strongly, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'm not looking for regime change, although this is regime change. The first regime is gone. The second regime is gone. And I think the third regime is more reasonable, but we'll find out. But we've destroyed their, as you know, completely destroyed 150. They had 159 ships. Every single ship is at the bottom of the sea. We've completely destroyed. They don't have one airplane. They don't have radar. You know, one of the reasons we kept the oil down, because a lot of people said, Kevin, and a lot of people were saying that oil could go to $300, $350 a barrel. But one of the reasons that prediction wasn't right is we were taking out on average of 10, but sometimes less, sometimes more. 3 weeks ago, we had a night, 22 ships came out of the Strait, and the famous Strait of Hormuz, nobody ever heard of, but that is some big money machine, I'll tell you what. When you look at the numbers, Michael, that makes everything look small. No, wait. And we took out so much oil that people didn't know, and it only took a month and a half. They finally found out they had no radar because their radar was destroyed. So we took them out late at night with no lights, with no nothing. And our great Navy, which did the greatest blockade anyone's ever seen, not one ship got through in 2 months. And we then freed up the blockade because we're close to maybe making a deal. I don't know. We'll make either. Look, we're going to win one way or the other. We're either going to make a deal or we're going to finish the job. Okay? And it won't be tough to finish the job. I'd rather make a deal because I don't want to affect 91 million people. We can knock down their bridges in 1 hour. We can knock out their energy supply, all of those big plants that they built, big, beautiful, modern plants. They had a lot of money. They don't have any money now. We haven't given them any money. But we can knock out their electricity and power generating plants in, I would say, a small part of an afternoon. Every plant will be gone. And they know that. They know that.
So Trump crushing the media's oil doom story, making it clear. Now here's the part that really lands, his warning that America is ready to wipe out their infrastructure in a small part of the afternoon.
We're going to win one way or the other. We're either going to make a deal or we're going to finish the job, okay? And it won't be tough to finish the job. I'd rather make a deal because I don't want to affect 91 million people. We can knock down their bridges in 1 hour. We can knock out their energy supply, all of those big plants that they built, big, beautiful, modern plants. They had a lot of money. They don't have any money now. We haven't given them any money. But we can knock out their electricity and power generating plants in, I would say, a small part of an afternoon. Every plant.
So that's a hard edge. Trump's message, deal or the job gets finished. Facts. Next he drives home why Tehran suddenly wants to talk so badly.
Out their Navy, their Air Force, their radar, their leaders. We wiped out everybody. And then I heard they're doing very well. No, they're not doing well at all. They want to make a deal so badly. but we'll see what happens. They have to make the right deal because they cannot have a nuclear weapon. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple.
So after the force came the leverage. Now the hatred on the ground is still on full display, with Khomeini supporters holding target posters that include President Trump. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is absolutely crazy. Khomeini supporters held up photos with a target list at his funeral, including President Trump and Laura Loomer.
We have some targets here for you. Do you approve? Oh, this one.
Look at that. Ben Shapiro, Lindsey Graham, Miriam Adelson.
We have some targets here for you. Do you approve? Oh, this one.
Oh, so the images tell you who we're dealing with next. The funeral itself chanting death to America and death to Israel in the open.
آقا جان در هر نفسی بر تو درود است و سلام است بر قاتل تو زندگی و خواب حرام است برخاسته و منتقم خون تو هستی تشییع تو ای خامنه ای عین قیام است مرگ بر آمریکا زندانی دام می شود اسرائیل سرکوب قیام می شود اسرائیل.
I guess they haven't learned yet. So it's not just signs. The crowd is saying it out loud. Now Fox brings in some street-level threats, with mourners vowing revenge against the U.S. and Israel on camera.
Every single one of these people will continue down his path with clenched fists, and soon we will certainly avenge his death against the U.S. and Israel. We will stand and fight for this country as long as we are alive and until the last drop of blood. We won't let even an inch of this soil be taken away. We are not here to say goodbye to him. We are here for revenge, and we will take revenge.
My God. So that's the regime mindset in plain English: revenge, blood, and threats. Shifting back home, one former Elizabeth Warren staffer wasn't condemning any of it. She was praising Khomeini and calling for America to be dismantled. Former Elizabeth Warren staffer, who called for the U.S. to be abolished as justice for Khomeini, attended his funeral and called him one of the greatest leaders of her lifetime. There she is with Elizabeth Warren. And the text from Calla Walsh: the only real justice for Imam Khomeini and for all the martyrs will be the total and complete dismantling of the U.S. and Israel. Anything less is capitulation. Well, the patriots back strength against Tehran. The radical left keeps showing you its true colors. Next, the same activists in Iran chanting death to America herself.
I'm from the United States. Marg bar America, Marg bar America.
Wow. Unbelievable. So it wasn't some edgy post from a keyboard warrior. She flew across the world and said it on camera. Now we tie it directly to the Democrat machine with her past as an Elizabeth Warren staffer, front and center. Right Angle News Network, former Democrat staffer for Elizabeth Warren, Calla Walsh, attends Ayatollah Khamenei's funeral, declaring him to be the greatest leader of her life.
He was a leader to all people of the world who struggle against imperialism, against arrogance, against Zionism, against genocide. To me, he was the greatest anti-imperialist leader to have lived during my lifetime.
Wow. The connection matters because the anti-American poison isn't staying overseas. It's got friends in U.S. politics. Next, she goes further, praising the so-called axis of resistance and chanting against Israel and America.
Glory to all the martyrs, glory to the axis of resistance. May we see victory within our lifetimes. Marg bar America, Marg bar Israel.
Thank you, Calla.
Wow. So after all that, one more look at the rotten side of the Republican Guard. Laura Loomer now turns the spotlight on Mitch McConnell with a blunt question about Elaine Chao's trip to China. A high-level source told me Mitch McConnell is officially brain dead and machines are keeping him alive. But he is a vegetable and he's never coming back, so why is Elaine Chao in China instead of by his side? Is she a CCP spy? How does the wife of one of the most powerful U.S. senators just travel to China? Is she coming back from China? Who's she meeting with? Will she be the one to pull the plug? And that's the talk right now. A new high-level source close to the White House says McConnell is officially brain dead and he is not coming back. So the moral center of the story lands in one obscene image. A former Elizabeth Warren staffer, Calla Walsh, standing with the enemies of the United States after posting that the total and complete dismantling of the U.S. would be justice for Khamenei. Then she hailed him as the greatest anti-imperialist leader of her lifetime. Yeah, Calla Walsh, that's her name. Elizabeth Warren's former staffer. She didn't drift into policy disagreement. She crossed the line and planted her flag with a regime whose crowd screamed death to America while supporters flashed a target list with President Trump's name on it. That's the left when the mask slips. They don't just hate Trump, they cheer the forces that want America broken, bloodied, and erased. So President Trump has Iran cornered. That's the headline, not the media fantasy, not the Democrat panic script. Trump said we're going to win one way or the other. And every new detail backs him up. Oil dropped instead of spiking. Tehran wants a deal badly instead of dictating terms. The regime's funeral mobs reminding the world exactly what they are by chanting death to America in the open. And Calla Walsh reminded the country that the anti-American fringe inside our own border still treats open allegiance to our enemies like a fashion statement. DHS needs to slam the door on foreign regime cheerleaders. Every platform still laundering this filth as activism needs to get named and shamed. Every American watching this needs to decide whether we reward strength or crawl back to the weakness that fed this monster in the first place. So drop a comment if you back Trump finishing this on American terms and share this clip so nobody can pretend that they missed the chance. And I don't want you to miss the news either. Make sure you text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963 and join the thousands and thousands of Americans who are already on the inside track with the Next News Network. And make sure you're celebrating all the wins with the Next News Network by going to the merch shelf below this video or shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. All right, that's crazy. She travels all the way and attends the funeral and chants death to America. What an Elizabeth Warren, former staffer. That's just crazy. But it's really not that shocking when you think about it. I mean, this is who they are. They hate America. Thank you, Craig, for your $10. Much appreciated in the Super Chat world there. Let's see. Let me just check on the Super Chats real quick. Wow, you guys are really active here. Ruby Hoove gifted 5 Next News Network memberships. Thank you. And then she donated $5 in Super Chat, and then Craig as well. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much for that, guys. I really appreciate that, sincerely. All right, there is a fly that's rolling around and flying around in this studio here. Hopefully it doesn't land on my face like it landed on Pence during that debate. Remember that? Okay. Enough of that. Let's get to some good news out of the Oval Office. We're going to talk about these new Trump accounts and how you can take advantage. The moment Wall Street tells you everything. For the first time ever, the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange rang a joint opening bell from the Oval Office, while Donald Trump launched accounts that put American kids into the market with a $1,000 head start. Let that sink in. Not a lecture, not a subsidy maze, not another Democrat handout trap. Trump took the patriotic thunder of America 250 and turned it into ownership for families. And the number that should terrify every bitter anti-Trump activist on cable sits right there on the screen. $1,091,900 by age 28, under the top projection. Now, I'm going to tell you who hates that. See, this matters because Trump just attacked the core religion of the Democrat machine, dependency. Barack Obama built a politics of managed decline. Joe Biden spent 4 years flooding the country with inflation, debt, and bureaucratic rot. Kamala Harris sold fake equity slogans while ordinary families got crushed. Donald Trump just smashed that model with something simple enough for every parent in America to understand. Kids born from January 1st, 2025 through December 31st of 2028 get $1,000 free from the government to start. The White House says that max contributions could grow to $271,000 by age 18. Fox flashed an even bigger estimate, $303,000 by 18 and $191,091,000 by 28. That's not some campus radical cosplay. That is first home money, business start money, freedom money. Brad Gerstner called it the largest unlock of direct philanthropy in the history of the country and said it best, every child a shareholder in the upside of America. See, Democrats can't stand that sentence because owners do not beg bureaucrats for crumbs. And when Trump starts turning newborns into shareholders, it makes you ask a personal question. When did you last feel truly recovered instead of just limping through the day? Yes, this medbed hack, it hits that same ownership mindset for your body. Jonathan Otto and Red Life built it around a cellular energy focus. Your mitochondria need the right frequencies of light and the right electromagnetic environment, or you get less energy production, slower recovery, and slower repair. It combines red light therapy and PEMF, two clinically studied wellness technologies using 10 clinically studied wavelengths, specific wavelengths, and gentle electromagnetic pulses for circulation recovery, and function advanced dual chip technology delivers up to twice the power in 30 minutes a day, right from home. Go to medbedhack.com. It's linked below. Use code NNN30 for 30% off bundles and NNN25 for 25% off individual devices, because builders win. And one more detail before we get to the tweets, because this is where the whole thing stops feeling like a policy memo and starts feeling like a cultural landslide. Gwen Shotwell and her husband are gifting SpaceX stock into Trump accounts for more than 2 million children, with a focus on lower-income kids ages 11 through 17. Not rhetoric, stock. And her line was perfect. She wants to inspire the next generation to live and fly amongst the stars. Democrats spent years selling resentment, and Trump just got rocket people funding poor kids. Take a look at this here on your screen. Trump account estimated return on investment if maximum contributions are made by the age of 18, you're looking at $303,000. By age 28, over $1 million. If no contributions are made, $5,800. And by age 28, $18,000. That's according to the Council of Economic Advisors for children born in 2026. So the numbers show why this matters. Even a small start can snowball into real wealth. Now watch Trump officially launch the accounts at the White House and tie it to a bigger America First message.
So after a truly historic weekend celebrating the 250th anniversary of America, today we're thrilled to officially launch the Trump accounts. And we had some beautiful people and speeches and tremendous crowds. We had the biggest crowd anyone's ever seen. That unfortunately lightning caused it to leave, and everybody said, well, we'll do it another time. When I heard that, I said, no, we won't. Everybody had left. I said, we're not doing it another time. We're doing it on the 4th of July. And we actually started the speech on the 4th of July. We had to wait a little while, like a couple of hours, let the lightning pass. And everyone had left. And we came back, and they had 150,000 people came back from they took their car. They're going back home to Texas. They turned their car around and came back. You wouldn't believe it, 150. I think the 150 was more impressive than the 425 or whatever it was. And Mount Rushmore likewise was so incredible. So people love our country. Our country is doing incredibly well. strongest military in the world, has been displayed with Venezuela, who we're getting along with fantastically now. We've taken hundreds of billions of dollars of oil and given them hundreds of billions. They have more money than they've ever made. And we're doing very well. We paid for the war many times over. And then Iran, we're doing actually equally as well. We're just not getting the kind of coverage that we should. But we have eviscerated them military. And the bottom line is our country is strong. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. I was with President Xi 3 weeks ago, and I said that, and there was no argument. Nobody's arguing. We built it during my first term. Now we're using it now for very good reasons, because in this case, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. We can never let that happen.
So Trump put his name and muscle behind the rollout. Next, investor Brad Gerstner explains how this turns every child into a shareholder.
As part of the big, beautiful bill that created an investment account for every child at birth. You know, every child gets on their phone a little share of Microsoft and NVIDIA, et cetera. That started on Saturday. You can gift into these accounts. Every child forevermore born into this country under the age of 2 is going to get $1,000 invested in S&P 500 that can compound for their lifetime. If you start with $1,000, as you know, and that is matched, and you add just $10 a week, that's $50,000 for every child at 18. This makes real the promise of the American dream, not for some, but for everybody. Every child a shareholder in the upside of America. So today is a big celebration. We're going to have the first ever joint bell ringing by the NASDAQ and NYSE, and the first ever remote bell ringing from the Oval Office at 9:30 Eastern Time. So it's a great celebration. We've got incredible CEOs from Michael Dell to Ryan McInerney and across the spectrum who've joined the Invest America CEO Council, who are giving huge contributions of their own. And of course, you mentioned Gwen Shotwell's gift this morning, an extraordinary gift. 2 million shares of SpaceX to 2 million kids that they'll hold in their accounts over the course of the next 10 to 20 years. And when they're 18, they can hold on to the shares of SpaceX or sell those shares. But it shows the flexibility of this platform. This is not a program. This is a platform. It is the largest unlock of direct philanthropy in the history of the country.
Remarkable. So it's not just a government seed check, it's a private sector push tied straight to the market. Now the Robinhood CEO, Vlad Tenev, lays out how companies are spreading the word and funding accounts for their own workers' kids.
Yeah, I think that's something that we're very focused on, making sure that everyone hears about this program, encouraging people to tell their friends, their loved ones, that these accounts are there, and eligible newborns are getting $1,000 seeded by Treasury, which is especially powerful. But we're also relying on the surge of philanthropic activity. I mean, you see Michael and Susan Dell there through their foundation. 50 companies, including Robinhood, have committed to funding the Trump accounts of their employees, and I think we should expect that to get much, much bigger. So to get more ownership, it helps to make it default, but also we have to continue to get the word out and tell everyone we know about these accounts and make sure they open them, claim the Treasury contribution for those that are eligible, and then make it part of the behavior, gifting for graduations, for holidays. This can be, a stocking stuffer for Christmas, no pun intended. But yeah, this is a long game, and, the marketing of the program and getting the word out, is going to continue far beyond the launch.
If you're looking for a reason to have another child, I think this is it. I think we're going to see a Trump baby boom as well. But he says the key is making ownership the default and getting families to claim that Treasury money. Up next, the White House boils it down to a simple pitch: who qualifies, what's free, and what the upside could be. Start investing in your child's future. The website, trumpaccounts.gov. So kids born between January 1st of 2025 and December 31st of 2028 get $1,000 free from the government. Max out contributions now, and your child could have $271,000 by the age of 18. Man, if I had that kind of money when I was 18. 100% free. to open for all U.S. kids under 18 with a Social Security number. Invest in Trump accounts today. That's the administration's pitch in plain English. Next comes the cultural gut punch. What happens when the anti-Trump parents let pure spite cost their own kids a future? And this was a funny post I found. 2045, a TDS parent with their broke adult kid. Sorry, we skipped your Trump account because we hated him more than your future. Trump's been dead for years. Your friends, $1,000 compounded into houses, but you got principles. Yeah, that post says the quiet part out loud. Trump hatred has become its own tax on these families. Now the story gets even bigger because SpaceX President Gwen Shotwell stepping in with stock for more than 2 million kids. SpaceX President Gwen Shotwell donating SpaceX stock to Trump accounts. More than 2 million children will receive the shares. Program focuses on kids 11 to 17. She said the gift is meant to inspire the next generation to live and fly among the stars. So it's not just MAGA messaging online. Major players are putting real assets on the table. Now, she explains why her and her husband are targeting lower income kids and tying this gift to the American dream. This is her official statement. My husband and I are honored and thrilled to participate in the Invest America program and gift a share of our SpaceX stock to a Trump account for each of more than 2 million children across our nation. Every child under 18 can benefit from having a Trump account, but our gift specifically goes to the accounts of children 11 to 17 that live in areas with lower average household incomes, with a bit more emphasis for those that live near our central Texas home. We've been fortunate in our careers and hope this gift encourages the next generation to continue the journey of enabling humanity to live and fly among the stars. A huge thanks to all that worked to bring this incredible program to life. So she frames as it giving kids a real stake. Up next, the reaction from the right, Eric Doherty, highlights the scale. 2 million SpaceX shares now being donated. SpaceX is filled with patriots. We've been fortunate in our careers and hope this gift encourages the next generation. Here's President Trump when he was asked about it earlier.
Yeah, he's moved on. Do you think, have you talked to him about donating SpaceX to something you might want to talk about, or donating SpaceX stock to Trump accounts?
Well, I think that he will do that. Micron, which is a great company, just did it. Yeah. Michael Tell is a fantastic guy. He did $6,250,000.
Are you ringing the bell next week or something?
And I'm ringing the bell right here, I think. They're going to have a bell, and it's New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. I said, what do you mean? They don't do both?
You're invited to the NASDAQ if you want to.
Well, well, that's interesting. It's very interesting. No, they're doing it together. It's the first time.
I can do that. I have
No, but do you know what they're doing? I was surprised. They're doing it together. New York Stock Exchange, I think Jeff is coming in, and the head of NASDAQ is coming in, and we're doing it together. See? It can happen. We're doing it. See this spot right here? The bell's going to be right there.
That brings me just back to
So the applause is about one thing: private winners backing American kids. Now watch the White House bring it back to the families, with Trump urging parents, churches, and donors to start funding the accounts right away.
If parents have not done so already, and they are doing so in record numbers, they should go right away to trumpaccounts.gov and sign their child up for a free investment savings account. And again, a lot of people are people that are uninvolved in terms of they don't have the children, but or their children are older, but they're putting millions and millions of dollars into the accounts of poor children, financially poor children. And the parents can't even believe what's happening. So it's an amazing thing. But parents, loved ones, churches, and generous companies and individuals will be able to contribute funds to these accounts to grow throughout the child's life. And again, if we have a good market like we do now, they're going to become actually very rich. They'll have hundreds of thousands of dollars. Think of that.
So Trump's pitch is blunt. Stop waiting and sign up. Next, Fox catches him making the market case directly, saying today's newborns can get a serious head start by the age of 18.
Children that are born without money, without any money, great parents, they can have everything, can be great, but they have no money. They can become very wealthy children at 18, and they can flip it over, or their people can flip it over into other vehicles at a certain age so that they don't take it out. I would recommend they probably don't take it out. But they can have a lot of money, especially if the market continues. Can you imagine if you did this during Trump a year and a half ago, where the market's gone up at levels? As an example, everybody said when I got elected, there's no way that during the 4-year period we'll ever hit 50,000 on the Dow. And we hit 50,000 on the Dow, I would say, in the first year, records. We had records. What NASDAQ has done, what the New York Stock Exchange, all the stock exchanges, 7,000 on the S&P was impossible during the first year, but they really thought it was impossible in 4 years, and we hit it before the first year. So if the children had invested the money a year and a half ago, we should have acted faster, actually. It's too bad. But it's going to go up. We have a hot country. It's going to go up. I think the market's going to go through the roof.
So the sell here is ownership, compounding, and booming market. Not another welfare check. Next, Trump goes a step further, opens the door to Bitcoin, saying he's a fan. Question was asked in the room.
On the Trump accounts, thank you, Liam Cosgrove with Zero Hedge. What is your plan to facilitate broad adoption of these? And you mentioned, the communist issue, particularly that crowd, to get them to participate in this.
Yeah.
Since I see Anthony Populato's here, and he's probably going to ask, is Bitcoin in any way going to be related to this in the future? Are there plans to put Bitcoin into Trump accounts?
Well, I've become a big crypto guy only for one reason. If we don't have it, China's going to have it, and they would like to have it. But now they're not even trying that hard because we've taken over crypto. But I'm a fan. I wasn't initially. I didn't know much about it. But for some of my first term, I wasn't much involved, but I'd watch. And I watched it grow, and it's a huge industry. And I got involved in a little bit for politics, because I realized that a lot of people love crypto. And even me as a businessman, I'd see a lot of money starting to come in with Bitcoin and, the different forms. And I said, this thing's got a lot of life. And then I hear China was going to make a heavy move on it, just like they do for AI. By the way, we're leading China substantially in AI, by substantial. And one of the reasons is when they build these big plants, I allow them to build their electric generating units, whether they use nuclear or oil and gas, whatever they want to use, they can use, except wind. We don't allow wind. Wind is terrible. It just doesn't work. It's too expensive, no good, bad for the environment. But, and they're building their own plants with some of the greatest electric producing plants that you've ever seen. I mean, they're teaching the companies that produce electricity, they're teaching them how to do a plant. So that was my.
So it'll be a huge expansion from stocks to crypto, with Trump arguing America has to lead. RSBN ties the whole project to Trump's market surge and claimed the best gains are still ahead.
Everybody said when I got elected, there's no way that during the 4-year period we'll ever hit 50,000 on the Dow. And we hit 50,000 on the Dow, I would say, in the first year, records. We had records. What NASDAQ has done, what the New York Stock Exchange, all the stock exchanges, 7,000 on the S&P was impossible during the first year, but they really thought it was impossible in 4 years, and we hit it before the first year. So if the children had invested the money a year and a half ago, we should have acted faster, actually. It's too bad.
Here's President Trump. Jokes about standing next to kids. He says they're going to get very rich.
I want to stand next to these soon-to-be very rich people.
Good, so we'll get going, and good morning. I'm grateful to be with you on this historic occasion. The American dream belongs to every child, and today we are equipping the next generation with the right to claim their rightful share of it. Through Trump accounts, our president is creating an ownership economy where all citizens become shareholders. 38% of American families do not have any exposure to our great equity markets, but with Trump accounts, over time, we can get that number to 0. Already, 6 million American children have signed up, 86% of them with families earning less than $200,000.
So the line says everything Create owners, not dependents. Now comes the made-for-TV moment. Trump rings in the opening bell from the Oval and makes sure that nobody slows him down. This is kind of funny. Trump had to cut off the Treasury Secretary, tell him to speak faster because the market opening time began.
Right now.
So Trump accounts will benefit. So ring the bell, Mr. President. So I will just finish by saying, on the eve on the heels of our 250th anniversary.
So the bell ringing was the symbol. Wall Street connected straight to Main Street, families and their kids. Next, the program may be widening because Trump says he's already working with Congress on a version for adults. This is from Polymarket. Trump reveals he's working with Congress on a version of Trump accounts for adults. How interesting is that? So here's the part that torches the entire fake equity racket. Gwynne Shotwell did not pledge another DEI seminar. She did not hire another nonprofit parasite to workshop oppression. Gwynne Shotwell and her husband gifted a share of SpaceX stock to a Trump account for each of more than 2 million children, with extra focus on lower-income communities and kids near Central Texas. Then, Trump stood in the Oval Office and helped ring a joint NASDAQ-NYSE bell, a first-ever moment, while Scott Bessent got rushed because Trump refused to miss the market open. And that image is the verdict. Donald Trump builds owners, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, and the Democrat media clerks build excuses. One side wants a kid holding stock, the other wants that same kid holding out a hand. So here's the choice, and it's not abstract. If you have an eligible child in your family, go to trumpaccounts.gov and get it done. If your church, your business, or your community group wants to build something real, step in and contribute. Trump said parents are signing up in record numbers, and they should be. The White House says this costs nothing to open for U.S. kids under 18 with a Social Security number, and the seeded $1,000 for the 2025 through 2028 birth window gives families a launch pad the welfare state never wanted them to have. Even the future is opening wider. Trump said on Bitcoin, "I'm a fan." Of course he is. He thinks forward. Democrats think in cages. And if some poisoned Trump deranged parent wants to skip this because they hate the man more than they love their own kid's future, let them explain that disgrace in public. So share this with one family that needs to hear it before the blackout artists try to bury it. And I don't want the blackout artists at YouTube to bury the news that you depend on. That's why I set this number up just for you. Text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963 and join the thousands and thousands of patriots who are already getting notifications that YouTube never sends them. And make sure you're celebrating the wins with the Next News Network by going to the merch shelf below this video or shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. And remember I told you guys about that fly in my studio? You would not believe what happened. Maybe you caught it. The fly landed right in my coffee mug. Right in it. I couldn't believe it. I picked it up, threw it down, smashed it. Disgusting. So now I have my mug of water here is completely tainted. So no water for Gary for the rest of the broadcast. Okay. Speaking of no water, I guess we're going to talk about Cuba because they don't have any electricity. $10 million people sat in the dark while Donald Trump cracked a grin and said, "Cuba is next, by the way." But pretend I didn't say that, please. That line hit Havana like a siren because the communist racket knows exactly what the blackout means. It wasn't weather, it wasn't bad luck. Cuba's entire electric grid collapsed again. The island is broke, blacked out, and cornered. Miguel Diaz-Canel started ranting about dying for the revolution down to the last drop of blood. Beijing sprinted in to shield the regime. And Trump? Well, he kept talking like a man who already sees the endgame. And wait until you hear who suddenly wants to negotiate. See, this matters because Cuba is not some abstract Cold War museum piece. It sits 90 miles from Florida, pumps anti-American poison into this hemisphere, and for decades, the Castro machine trained radicals, sold repression as romance, and survived on subsidies, lies, and fear. Now the mask just slipped. An island-wide blackout hammered roughly 10 million people. Hospitals got hit, critical services got hit, and the regime still tried the oldest communist scam on earth. Blame America before blaming communism. Bloomberg pushed the line out about de facto U.S. oil blockade. China Daily Mao Ning barked that America must stop pressure on Cuba. Good, let them bark. The blackouts came from crumbling infrastructure, empty coffers, and a dictatorship that cannibalized its own future. And here's the hemispheric stake. When Trump projects strength, hostile regimes stop bluffing and start folding. We saw it in our Iran coverage. We called this on June 23rd in our Cuba segment, and now Marco Rubio is torching Cuban influence operations right here at home while Havana panics abroad. No bailout, no rescue mission for communists. It's time to finish the break. And when a regime leaves 10 million people in the dark, you remember how every bureaucracy survives confusion. That hits here at home with Medicare too. Big insurance feeds a Medicare confusion industrial complex so seniors stay stuck. Chapter blows that up. They're simple by design. One call, one advisor, and they work for you, not big insurance. They look at your doctors, look at your prescriptions, your whole situation, then tell you the truth with no propaganda, just facts. If you're already on the right plan, they'll say it. If not, they'll help you switch. It's free, takes about 20 minutes. Just give them a call. The number's on the screen there, 910-728-4109. Last year, people who found new plans with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. Clarity beats bureaucratic fog every time. Cut the fog. Communists thrive on confusion. Patriots don't. Now back to the line that sent the foreign policy priesthood into cardiac arrest. Trump didn't just say Cuba's weak. He salted the wound. He said Cuba is next, by the way, but pretend I didn't say that, please. That mock little please, it mattered. It told you he knew the media would explode, and he said it anyway. But the line I want you to keep in your head before I roll the tweets is even sharper. Trump said taking Cuba could be a friendly takeover. Friendly for whom? Not for the Castro machine. Cuba's president says Cuba isn't afraid of a U.S. attack and is getting ready.
But do you believe they are going to use force and an attack is imminent?
If there is an attack, the Cuban people will respond in unity, firmness, and in defense of our sovereignty. We don't want the war, but we're not afraid of it, and we are getting ready so that we're not surprised or defeated.
And we can talk about how you're getting ready in a moment, but we have seen a military buildup off your coast. When Donald Trump has threatened Venezuela, for example, he has acted. When he has threatened Iran, he has acted. I know you're saying that me asking whether an attack being imminent is hypothetical, but we've seen in the past when he has said something, he has done it. Are you taking what he is saying seriously when he says we can take Cuba?
We need to move away from confrontation for the sake of both our peoples. I think that the American people, for which we are respectful, and the Cuban people can have a wonderful relationship as very good neighbors because we're very close to each other. I, like many other million Cubans, are willing to give our lives for the revolution. And we are willing to fight to the very last drop of blood in order to defend our rights, our independence, our sovereignty, and our achievements.
So, Cuba's regime is talking tough, promising to fight the revolution to the last drop. Next, Beijing jumps in, with China's foreign ministry demanding the U.S. back off Cuba immediately. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning made the remarks at a regular press briefing following reports that Cuba has requested the United Nations General Assembly to convene a special session on the U.S. blockade against Cuba.
Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel recently warned that U.S. embargo against Cuba has reached a threshold level amounted to genocide, and requested a special session at the UN General Assembly on July 7th. What is China's comment? The U.S. 60-plus years of full blockage and illicit sanctions have brought profound sufferings to the Cuban people. Recently, the U.S. once again upgraded relevant blockage and sanction measures, hitting hard at the basic livelihood of the Cuban people and raising grave concern from the international community. China, as always, opposed illicit unilateral sanctions that have no basis in international law, and we urge the U.S. to stop its blockage, coercion, and pressuring against Cuba at once, and stop violating the Cuban people's rights to survival and development. China firmly supports Cuba in defending national sovereignty and standing against external interference. We stand ready to work with the rest of the world to uphold international fairness and justice.
So now you've got Havana rattling sabers, China running diplomatic cover. While the communist posture of the island's crumbling fast, Bloomberg reports Cuba's entire electric grid has just collapsed. Cuba's electric grid suffered a total collapse Monday as the nation struggles with crumbling infrastructure and a de facto U.S. oil blockade that has pushed the communist-run island to the brink. So the collapse isn't some abstract policy fight. It's a full-blown system failure. Fox lays out just how massive the blackout is. 10 million people hit, hospitals caught in the middle.
This just in, breaking moments ago, Cuba has suffered an island-wide blackout. This is happening as its fuel reserves dwindle and its electric grid continues to crumble. They say the cause is under investigation. This is the second blackout this year. The country relies on getting 60% of its oil from outside of the country. Cuba only produces, I believe, about 40% of the fuel that it needs. You're talking about 10 million people affected by this. It's obviously affecting the hospitals there and the lives of so many. So we're going to continue monitoring that developing story.
With the grid down and fuel running dry, Cuba looks weaker by the hour. That's when Trump steps in and says he believes he'll have the honor of taking Cuba.
And great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change, you know. They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week. But I think Cuba's seen the end. You know, all my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now. They were for a long time. Very violent leaders.
So Trump didn't stop at calling Cuba weak, and next up he goes even further, saying the regime is talking with the U.S. and a friendly takeover could be on the table.
The Cuban government is talking with us. And they're in a big deal of trouble, as you know. They have no money, they have no anything right now, but they're talking with us, and maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba. We could very well end up having a friendly takeover of Cuba.
What about the... So first, it was a possible takeover. Then Trump sharpened it, saying Cuba is the next one, but not before adding a little jab at the media.
Anymore, I don't see it. He's doing some job, and your next one is going to be, we want to do that special Cuba. He's waiting, but he says, let's get this one finished first. We could do them all at the same time, but bad things happen. If you watch countries over the years, you do them all too fast, bad things happen. We're not going to let anything bad happen to this country.
So Trump's warning kept building from there. Next, aboard Air Force One, he says flat out, Cuba is ready to fall.
One of the things that is happening, and I think you see it all the time, Howard, you've seen it, that Cuba is ready to fall. Yes. Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they're going to hold out. But Cuba now has no income. They got all of their income from Venezuela, from the Venezuelan oil. They're not getting any of it. And Cuba literally is ready to fall. And you have a lot of great Cuban Americans that are going to be very happy about this.
Marco Rubio.
So after saying Cuba's ready to fall, Trump goes one step further. He says Cuba is next.
Because I campaigned on the fact peace through strength, you wouldn't have to use it. I said you'll never have to use it, but sometimes use it. And Cuba's next, by the way, but pretend I didn't say that, please. Pretend I didn't say that. Please, 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 media, please disregard that statement. Thank you very much. Cuba's next.
Because the usual media class loves to play dumb when Trump says exactly what he means, the next item, straight fact check confirming the date and quote and the context. Yes, Trump says Cuba is next. By the way, pretend I didn't say that. Because the usual media class loves to play dumb when Trump says what he means. Yes, President Trump said exactly that on March 27, 2026 at the Future Investment Initiative Forum in Miami. While discussing U.S. military actions in Venezuela and Iran, he stated Cuba is next, by the way, but pretended I didn't say that. Multiple outlets, including Reuters, Fox, and The Hill, reported it with video clips. The meme's why list is a common online theory linking interventions to central banking, but Trump's remark was in the context of ongoing foreign policy shifts. So yes, the quote was real and documented. Now we turn to the regime itself, where a Cuban ambassador is denying that Raul Castro's grandson has any real power. Cuba's ambassador denies that El Canegro has the power in the regime. Cuba's ambassador to Uruguay, Lizette Perez, denied that Raul Guillermo Rodriguez Castro, the grandson of Raul Castro, plays a political role within the Cuban regime. So the denial gets shaky. Next, the report says the grandson is open to negotiating directly with President Trump. The grandson of the communist dictator Raul Castro expressed his willingness to negotiate with President Trump and any representative, according to the USA Today. So while regime insiders talk negotiation, the crackdown at home is already moving. Rubio terminating the legal status of a Cuban foreign influence operative and federal agents moving in. Rubio terminating the legal status of Cuban communist foreign influence operatives whose network brought Hassan Piker to Cuba. Federal agents took Carlos Antonio Loga Dominguez and his family into custody pending removal. He spent over a decade working for ICAP, the Cuban regime's premier intelligence and influence front group in the U.S. ICAP's own president is a convicted Cuban spy who did 15 years in a U.S. prison. For years, they operate in the open, cultivating America's far left to export Castro's revolution here. That era is officially over. So the Miguel Diaz-Canel gave away the whole game when he started talking about fighting to the very last drop of blood. Strong governments do not talk like that. Cornered regimes do. Collapsing regimes do. Fraud regimes do. And the Castro machine is all three. So look at the sequence. Cuba's grid craters. Trump says Cuba is ready to fall. Trump says he would have the honor of taking Cuba. Trump said it could be a friendly takeover. Then he drops the blade that Cuba is next. Beijing lunges to protect Havana. Raul Castro's grandson suddenly open to negotiation. Marco Rubio rips a Cuban foreign influence operative out of legal status here in the U.S. That's not random noise. That is a communist racket getting squeezed from every side by American strength. So, take the lesson and burn it in. Communism did not fail in theory. It failed on camera. It failed in an island-wide blackout. It failed in a dictator's desperate promise to spill blood for a revolution that cannot keep the lights on. And Donald Trump did not create that collapse. He exposed it, accelerated the pressure, made the whole hemisphere watch Havana wobble. That's why the legacy media hate this story. They can't stand a foreign policy doctrine that works. They can't stand Trump calling the shots, then watching the regime buckle on schedule. They would rather run cover for Bloomberg's blockade spin, China's propaganda, and every regime apologist who wants one more lifeline for Castro's heirs. No lifeline, no bailout, no face-saving deal for the men who wrecked Cuba and exported that poison north. If you know Cuban Americans, send them this. If you want America back in charge of its hemisphere, share this and keep your eyes on Marco Rubio and President Trump. When the lights go out on communism, you don't change the bulb, you lock the door. And we are unlocking the door to the missed notifications that I've read you guys aren't receiving in the comments section. That's right. We set up this special number just for you, and thousands of patriots are already taking advantage of it. I want to make sure you do too. Text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963 and make sure you get the notifications from me when YouTube fails you. And celebrate the wins with the Next News Network by going to the merch shelf below this video or shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Cuba is next. That's what we know. And it's only a matter of time. Once he gets this Iran situation completely locked in, you know those aircraft carriers are going to start launching into Cuba. And speaking of crashing and burning, we're going to start talking about the latest from Nancy Pelosi and her husband. Yeah, got caught in a hit and run. Nancy Pelosi making some headlines of her own with her husband. Paul Pelosi told deputies he knew he hit something in Yountville, and then just kept driving until his car gave out. Let that sink in. A parked black Tesla gets smashed, major debris on the road, and the husband of Nancy Pelosi rolls on until the car quits on him about a quarter mile later. If your last name isn't Pelosi, you already know how that stop ends. Now with a soft press line about a case being referred, with cuffs, with paperwork, and instant consequences. Well, tonight the Pelosi machine got caught again, and the cover-up language stinks almost as much as the entitlement. This matters because every working American knows the rule in real life. You hit a legally parked car, you stop, you stay. You deal with the owner and you face the music. Well, Paul Pelosi didn't do that. Napa County investigators say he struck a parked black Tesla on Friday afternoon, briefly stopped and then kept on going after admitting he knew he hit something. He only stopped when his own Porsche became disabled and blocked the roadway. That detail destroys every elite excuse before Nancy Pelosi's camp can even draft a cleanup memo. And here's the part that burns people up. Paul Pelosi already carried a DUI conviction from 2022 in the same area, same family, same Napa orbit. Another wreck, another ugly headline, yet the public gets bureaucratic cushioning. Under review, referred, DMV evaluation. The Pelosi's live inside the Democrat protection bubble that California built for its ruling class. President Trump is restoring law, order, and national confidence in Washington, while the Democrat brand keeps coughing up this. Aristocrats who preach standards then duck them when one of their own smashes a car and leaves. See, Paul Pelosi drove on in Yountville after he knew he hit something. And that same digital age arrogance should make you ask one ugly question. What happens when the system holding your money locks you out too? Or hackers crack it open? Noble Gold Investments gives you something real, not digits, not vapor. Physical gold and silver, a coin you can hold, a bar you can stack. It doesn't live on a server, can't be frozen by a keystroke, and can't be erased by code. You can even use a tax-advantaged retirement account or get physical gold shipped right to your door. Go to nextnewsgold.com. Just mention my name and claim a free 10-ounce U.S. Independence silver bar when you open a new qualified account. In America, connected Democrats should not control justice or your savings. Now, there's one detail that makes Nancy Pelosi's cleanup statement even more insulting. Her side pushed out a line saying Paul Pelosi has personally apologized and would take responsibility for the damage after he left the scene, after deputies tracked him down, after the black Tesla sat there through the holiday weekend waiting on insurance. That's not accountability. That is palace PR. And I'm going to show you the tweets because you're going to see exactly what the legacy media keeps trying to soften. This family still acts like the rules arrive only after the scandal breaks. Paul Pelosi could now face the revocation of his driver's license after a hit and run in Northern California. This comes after he was convicted of a DUI in 2022.
Having his driver's license revoked after an alleged hit and run in Northern California on Friday. A spokesperson for the Napa County Sheriff's Office tells TMZ a deputy submitted a driver recertification request to the California DMV, which could require the 86-year-old Pelosi to undergo a new driver's test. The incident also comes after Pelosi was convicted of a separate DUI back in 2022. And how?
So the DMV angle now on the table after Pelosi's prior DUI conviction. Fox lays out the key admission from deputies. He says he knew he hit something and just kept on driving.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband's under scrutiny after he allegedly crashed his car into another vehicle in Napa County, California, causing major damage before leaving the scene. The incident comes 4 years after Paul Pelosi pleaded guilty in a DUI-related crash in the same area. Senior correspondent Alicia Acuna reports live from Los Angeles. Hi, Alicia.
Hey, Mike, good to see you. Fortunately, no one was injured in the vehicle Paul Pelosi is accused of hitting. It happened in Yountville, which is not in Nancy Pelosi's district. The Napa County Sheriff's Department says Friday afternoon, deputies responded to a 911 call by a witness who saw a brown convertible crash into a legally parked car and take off after briefly stopping. The California Highway Patrol caught up with the convertible. Authorities say Paul Pelosi was driving. It was heavily damaged and parked on the side of a road blocking the roadway. In a statement, the sheriff said, quote, during the investigation, Pelosi admitted to hitting something, but said he didn't know what he had hit, so he kept driving. He drove until his car became disabled and was no longer able to continue driving. A field sobriety test determined there was no alcohol in the 86-year-old husband of the Congresswoman, but Napa County Sheriff says it's referring Pelosi to the state DMV for reevaluation for his driver's license, which is common with elderly drivers. A spokesperson for Nancy Pelosi told the California Post, quote, Mr. Paul Pelosi has personally apologized to the owner of the vehicle and assured them that he would take responsibility for the damage to their vehicle. Speaker Pelosi will not be commenting further on this private matter.
Right, no, I understand who you are.
4 years ago, Paul Pelosi pled guilty in a misdemeanor drunk driving accident that injured another driver. The district attorney tells Fox News it will review the case before making a decision on filing charges, which, Mike, could happen tomorrow. Back to you.
We will follow it. Alicia Acuna, great to see you. Thanks very much.
You bet.
So you heard the sheriff's version, that damaging quote. Now look at the body cam side of this. More footage raises fresh questions about how this was handled. Pelosi's husband charged with a hit and run. 86-year-old admitted to hitting something but wasn't aware when he struck, and he continued driving. Police found Pelosi partially blocking the roadway. And here, we'll take a look back at that infamous body cam footage.
So you could try both feet out if you want. I'll let you start. You can try the test with both feet. I'll give you like a pre-trial run, for lack of a better term. You could try it with both feet, see which one you feel more comfortable with, and then once you're ready, just let me know. Are you sure you could complete the test? Okay. Because I really don't want you to fall over and hurt yourself. That's the last thing I want. Right, but that defeats the whole purpose of the test, grabbing onto a patrol car.
You know, I mean, you think that someone of his stature could afford a driver to take him where he needs to go? Or maybe Uber Black, maybe? Maybe somebody should download the app on his phone. I don't know. But this is just getting absolutely ridiculous. Next, the case moves from roadside questions to possible consequences, with the DA being asked to review the criminal charges. He's been referred to the district attorney's office for criminal investigation and charges after the hit and run. All that stock trading, he couldn't even stay behind the right thing and do the right thing and offer to pay for damages.
Just to come back and see all the damage, that's pretty serious.
On Friday, around 2:30 in the afternoon, Napa County Sheriff's deputies responded to a 911 call reporting a hit-and-run crash. Investigators say the driver was 86-year-old Paul Pelosi, the husband of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Deputies say Paul Pelosi struck a legally parked vehicle, left the scene, and was found about a quarter mile after his own car became disabled. The investigation determined no alcohol was detected upon screening, therefore a DUI was ruled out. On Saturday, Cron 4 spoke with the owner of the damaged vehicle, who confirmed it was this black Tesla shown here. They did not want to appear on camera, but did say their main focus is getting the car repaired as soon as possible. The owner says the Tesla remains at the scene, with debris still scattered on the ground because their insurance company is unable to inspect the damage over the 4th of July holiday weekend.
It's unfortunate that she just didn't park in the driveway that yesterday.
Cron 4 also spoke with a neighbor of the Tesla owner who did not want to be identified. They say they hope this unfortunate incident becomes a lesson for drivers everywhere to pay attention on the road.
It's a residential area and it does have some fast traffic at times, and we do need to slow down, even though we have all these little cautions and bike lanes and everything to keep our pedestrians and bicyclists safe. It's still dangerous. So do slow down.
Because no one was injured, Paul Pelosi was not arrested at the scene. The incident comes nearly 4 years after Paul Pelosi pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor DUI in Napa County. In 2022, he was sentenced to jail, placed on probation, ordered to attend a drinking driver program, and required to install an ignition interlock device in his vehicle.
The Napa Valley District Attorney's Office will now decide whether to file a misdemeanor hit-and-run charge. Pelosi has now been referred to the DMV for a driver reevaluation, a standard the Sheriff's Office says is common for older drivers. Lindsay Ford, Cron 4 News.
So it wasn't just a damaged car and a disabled Porsche. He's officially been referred for prosecution review. Up next, a bigger question a lot of Americans are asking: would an average citizen have walked away from the scene without cuffs? Wouldn't you or most people be in jail for this? Here's your proof. There are two tiers of justice. Paul Pelosi, Nancy's husband, is accused of a hit and run. Police say he smashed into a parked car in Napa County, drove away. The 86-year-old caused major damage to the unoccupied vehicle. Authorities say he briefly stopped but continued driving, now recommending misdemeanor charges for leaving the scene of an accident. This comes after 4 years after pleading guilty in the same area for a DUI. Pass this along so more people see how the justice system appears to treat some people differently than others. So that's where the two-tier justice argument hits. One America News picks it up with a possible misdemeanor charge, and the district attorney deciding whether Pelosi faces real accountability.
Even a former representative, Nancy Pelosi, may be facing a misdemeanor charge for an alleged hit and run in California. The announcement was made by the Napa County Sheriff's Office Saturday after Paul Pelosi allegedly struck a car on the side of the road, briefly stopped, then drove away last week. Pelosi told officers he knew he hit something but was not sure when or what caused it. Officials say no injuries were reported, but said both vehicles were left damaged. Investigators say Pelosi was not arrested at the scene, adding they will be referring his case to the Napa County's District Attorney's Office for review and possible prosecution.
So DA review is in play, but the Pelosi machine already trying to manage the fallout. Why is Nancy Pelosi out here apologizing for her husband hitting a parked car and fleeing the scene? He's the one who did it. Post-millennial, Nancy Pelosi breaks silence after her husband's hit and run, apologizes to vehicle owner. Mr. Paul Pelosi has personally apologized to the owner and assured them he would take responsibility for the damage to their vehicle. So the whole case turns on that one brutal line. Paul Pelosi knew he hit something and kept driving. Not confusion, not mystery, not media perfume. Knowledge, then flight. Nancy Pelosi spent years lecturing the country about norms and decency, institutions, and law. Now her own husband and her household lands in another Napa crash file. The family answer comes wrapped in a statement about apologies and responsibility after the scene got abandoned. Paul Pelosi didn't smash into a moving car in chaos. He hit a legally parked black Tesla on the shoulder, a parked car. Then he rolled on until his Porsche quit. That's not just recklessness, that is aristocratic instinct. The Pelosi name still expects the road to clear and the system to cushion the landing. So here is the test for the Napa County District Attorney, Allison Haley, and for the California DMV. Stop massaging this because the last name is Pelosi. Charge the case if the facts support the misdemeanor hit and run referral. Revoke the license if the driving record and recertification demand it. Treat Paul Pelosi the way any plumber, waitress, rancher, truck driver, or retiree would get treated after smashing a parked car in Yountville, admitting he knew he hit something and driving until the vehicle died. Because Americans are done with Democrat nobility. They're done with separate lanes for insiders and donors and dynasty names and legacy media favorites. President Trump's second term is hammering home a very simple standard. Law means law, and order means order. California Democrats keep fighting that because their machine survives on selective mercy for the connected. If you're sick of that racket, send this segment to somebody who still believes the Pelosis are just harmless elites, and watch how fast that illusion cracks. And I've read your comments. I've heard your frustration. And that's why I set up this telephone number for you. And thousands of patriots are already on the inside track. They're getting the notifications that YouTube just stopped sending. Text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963 and join the thousands of patriots who are already getting those notifications. And celebrate the wins with the Next News Network by going to the merch shelf below this video or shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Two-tiered justice system. Speaking of justice, looks like an Olympian was just indicted. We got more news on the beautification of D.C. and that reflecting pool. It just keeps coming back in the news. You know, it's just crazy. I mean, it's a pool. It was fixed. And, like, it's just keeps making headlines. It's the craziest thing. But not when you have just rampant TDS. Just wreaking havoc throughout Washington, D.C. And so we're going to get to that story, and then we're going to bring you the latest from the trial of the Charlie Kirk assassin. $45,000 gallons a day. That's how badly Washington's reflecting pool bled before Donald Trump stepped in and fixed what the political class let rot in plain sight. Not 45 gallons, 45,000. After an earlier so-called fix burned 34 million and still failed. Now the pool carries an industrial liner. Nano bubblers stop the algae that the water holds. The monuments shine. In a single night, law enforcement grabbed 7 arrests, left 7 additional federal citations, and logged 19 incidents because vandals tried to trash it again. The contrast tells you everything about this moment. Trump rebuilds America's Capitol. The decay crowd attacks it. And tonight, we're naming every part of that shame. This matters because a broken Capitol, it sends a message that America accepts decline. Donald Trump rejects that lie with bricks, pumps, law enforcement, and pride. Secretary Doug Burgum put it flatly, no one has fixed up our Capitol more than President Trump has. He didn't toss out fluff. He brought receipts. Under the Trump administration, Washington fixed 48 monuments, 22 fountains that had sat dead for years, and wiped out more than 1,000 graffiti sites. The reflecting pool alone had leaked 45,000 gallons a day. Bureaucrats had already torched 34 million on a failed repair years earlier. Trump came in, installed an industrial liner, deployed nanobulbers to crush the algae, and got the job done in time for America's 250th kickoff. Then he backed it with muscle. 7 arrests, 7 additional issued federal citations, 19 incident reports in a single night. Burgum also said that Trump's 3 speeches in 4 days gave Americans inspiration for the future. That line matters. Trump isn't just cleaning stone and water, he's restoring national morale while the media ghouls fixate on the vandals instead of the victory. When a Capitol leaks 45,000 gallons a day, you learn rot hides where people stop looking. Same with your body. One man had a worm moving inside his eye after uncooked fish. And the World Health Organization says 1 in 2 affected by parasitic infection prevalence. If you battle brain fog, chronic fatigue, pain that won't go away, IBS-like symptoms, even severe chronic conditions, check out Parasite Purge from Jonathan Otto. His full-spectrum parasite elimination protocol is a typical cleanse alternative, using a science-backed parasite formula plus red and near-infrared light therapy to support healthy cellular function and natural detoxification processes. You also get free bonuses, including the 10-day intensive parasite detox protocol to prepare your body, support the cleansing process, and maximize your results. Go to purgemyparasitesnow.com. Code NNN45 to save 45% for a limited time, because standards matter everywhere. Now here's the detail the corporate press can't hide behind a chyron. The man praising this turnaround wasn't some random booster, it was the Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, and he tied the physical rebuild directly to Trump's July 4th message. He said Trump gave Americans inspiration for the future in 3 speeches across 4 days. That matters because the same president who stood up the 250th kickoff also stood up the actual water, stone, and order around Lincoln. I'm going to pull up the tweets because you're going to catch something the media missed completely. Here's Secretary Burgum. Nobody has fixed up our Capitol more than President Trump.
Be proud of it because no one has fixed up our Capitol more than President Trump has during the time he's been here. He's shown the pride that he has in America. He's shown that as a country we can stand and think about our future. This is the kickoff of our 250th year. President Trump, in those 3 speeches that I saw him give the last few days, he was incredible respect for the past, gratitude for the present and all the people that have great, including our military, our law enforcement. And then he gave us in all 3 speeches in the last 4 days, inspiration for the future. That's something that we should focus on because the vast majority of Americans, care deeply about this country. They care about their communities. They care about their families. And that is absolutely something we celebrate. We are the freest, strongest country in the world. We should be celebrating that versus focusing myopically on the few bad actors that may want to spoil the party.
So Burgum says Trump brought pride back to the Capitol, gave Americans a reason to look forward. Now comes the proof of what the city was up against. An Olympian indicted over alleged damage to the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. ABC News reports three-time U.S. Olympian David Hearn has been indicted in the Superior Court of the District of Columbia for allegedly maliciously destroying lining at the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. An Olympian. So the indictment shows exactly what happens when our monuments are treated like targets. Next, take a look at the results after the cleanup. Trump's sunset view of the newly restored reflecting pool. This is from Trump Daily Post. President Trump posting an image of the breathtaking sunset view of the Lincoln Memorial. We brought the image to life for you to enjoy.
President Trump shared this stunning sunset view of the Lincoln Memorial, its reflection glowing in the reflecting pool. A powerful symbol of American freedom, unity, and the unbreakable spirit that still lights our way.
So you saw the Lincoln Memorial glowing again, with the pool restored. Next, Trump posts another shot, this time a nighttime view of the Washington Monument reflecting off the same repaired water. President Trump posting an image of the breathtaking night view of the Washington Monument reflecting off the reflecting pool.
President Trump shared this stunning nighttime view of the Washington Monument beside the beautifully restored reflecting pool. A timeless symbol of American strength, unity, and enduring freedom.
From sunset at Lincoln to a night shot of the Washington Monument, the message is the same: restore and protect it. Now we got the enforcement numbers: 7 arrests, 7 federal citations, 19 incidents. Trump dropping the latest numbers from the reflecting pool: 7 arrests, 7 citations, 19 incidents. Finally, a president that is actually protecting our national monuments instead of letting radicals destroy and tear them down. This is from Trump Daily Post. President Trump, from Greg Wisher at the U.S. Department of Interior. Latest law enforcement numbers from the reflecting pool: 7 arrests, 7 citations, 19 incidents. So the arrests and citations make one thing clear: Trump's not rebuilding the monuments, he's backing it with law and order. Next, he shows the same approach at Freedom Plaza, where a rundown fountain has been fully rebuilt and turned back on. This is the Freedom Plaza fountain. Another fountain update was just turned on. Freedom Plaza fountain, located southeast of the White House ballroom, not only fixed but also significantly improved, just like the president's other beautification projects. Take a look at this. Beautiful. The fountain was experiencing structural deterioration, so virtually every component of the fountain was replaced and upgraded. The pumps, piping, wiring, lighting, vault, masonry, and mechanical, electrical, and plumbing system. Now Burgum lays out the scale: 45,000 gallons a day leaking from the reflecting pool, and new technology Trump used to stop it.
First of all, let's put this all in context. Under President Trump's leadership, Washington, D.C., we fixed 48 monuments, 22 fountains that hadn't had water going for years. We eliminated over 1,000 graffiti sites. All of these things have been going on across the city. And you know, everybody that lives in Washington, D.C. says the place has never looked better. And, of course, you look at the crime stats, the city has never been safer. And so when we look in context, President Trump set out to make D.C. safe and beautiful. He's done that. The reflecting pool was part of the original design of the Lincoln Memorial. It's part of that memorial. It is part of one of the monuments that is important to us as a country. It was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. It's been attempted to be fixed in the past. Widely reported by the New York Times, Washington Post, and others that this pool was closed for 2 years between 2010 and 2012. $34 million was spent. It's a challenging thing. This has got 2.5 miles of expansion landing joints. It is 8-acre pond. It has been a challenge, but now with the industrial liner, it's not paint. With the industrial liner that's gone in, the reflecting pool is not leaking. New technology that hasn't existed before, nano bubblers taking care of the algae. The water is now clear. The reason why the fences were up the last week was to get ready for the world's largest fireworks show. On either side of the reflecting pool is where the fireworks are stationed. And so this is and anybody that's been there, some of the greatest photographs ever taken in recent weeks of both the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Memorial, reflecting our history, our incredible history of those two presidents, one that helped found the country and the other that helped save the Union back and forth. So the reflecting pool has been a big success, and we've got of the 340 million people in this country that are celebrating 250. We did have a few vandals, but all that's going to be repairable, and that'll all be fixed in the coming weeks as we go forward.
So the peak insult here isn't just that vandals hit the Lincoln Memorial grounds. It's that the establishment let Washington decay for years, then acted offended when Donald Trump repaired it faster and better than the experts who burned 34 million and still left a pool leaking 45,000 gallons a day. Then ABC blasted the indictment of David Hearn for destroying the reflecting pool lining, as if the headline starts with the vandal. No, the headline starts with Trump restoring sacred ground and enforcing consequences when a grown man attacked it. Burgum named the contrast. Trump brought inspiration for the future. David Hearn brought destruction. One side builds the Capitol for America's 250th. The other side sneers, shrugs, and trashes Lincoln's front yard. So here is the line in the sand. If you love this country, you do not treat the Lincoln Memorial, the reflecting pool, the Washington Monument, or Freedom Plaza like disposable scenery for radicals and bored narcissists. You defend them. You restore them. You arrest the people who deface them. Donald Trump has done all three. He fixed a pool that leaked 45,000 gallons a day. He revived the Freedom Plaza fountain by replacing the pumps, the piping, the wiring, the lighting, the vault, the masonry, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems. He backed the work with law and order. 7 arrests, 7 citations, 19 incidents in one night. That is leadership with pride. If legacy media wants to keep kneeling before decline, let them. We're going to keep showing the before and after, and the names of the people who made both possible. So drop your take below and share this with somebody who still loves this country, and keep your eyes on Washington, because Trump is rebuilding it in public. And we are rebuilding the notifications that you never get from YouTube. We're doing that because we set up this telephone number right here. 844-840-4963. Thousands and thousands of patriots have already texted the words raw feed to that number. And now they're getting the notifications. And they're staying on the inside track. Make sure you're celebrating all the wins by going to the Next News merch shelf below this video or shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. All right, this next report, there's a lot to unpack here, because the Charlie Kirk assassination trial has started today, and we're going to bring you some of that footage from that and some of the controversy that still surrounds that moment. And God. Still can't believe that happened. I remember. I saw the video, people running. And then I saw the video of Charlie over and over again. All right, let's get at it. At 12:23, a police officer heard the shot as Charlie Kirk answered a question from a kid in front of several thousand people. Today in Provo, Erica Kirk sat in that courtroom long enough for Judge Tony Graff to say, for the record, The court recognizes Mrs. Erica Kirk by name. Then she had to walk out while the system replayed the moment her husband was gunned down. The man accused of doing it, Tyler Robinson, rolled in under armed escort. Ballistics, DNA, admissions, a note about wanting to take out Kirk. This is not fog. This is a political murder case marching towards Judgment Day. This matters because Charlie Kirk was not some anonymous victim in a dark alley. Charlie Kirk built one of the strongest America First platforms in the country. And Tyler Robinson stands accused of executing him in broad daylight at Utah Valley University on September 10th, 2025, while Charlie spoke plainly about America in front of a packed crowd. Several thousand people watched the chaos explode. It hits every conservative family in the gut because every patriot understands exactly what message that kind of violence sends. Shut up, stand down, and disappear. Well, Charlie refused. The movement refused. Now the court is dragging the facts into daylight. Prosecutors say that Tyler Robinson admitted that the shooting to his romantic partner, to a group chat, and to a family friend. Investigators tied DNA to the murder weapon and ammunition. They have a note vowing to take out Kirk in text dripping with hatred for Charlie's views. While the legacy press spent years demonizing America First voices, Erica Kirk now sits feet away from the accused killer and absorbs the cost of that hate machine. See, Erica Kirk had to sit in Provo and hear the system slowly catch up to obvious facts. And if your family is on Medicare, you know the same machine thrives on confusion. Chapter cuts through the Medicare confusion industrial complex. It's simple by design. One call, one advisor. They work for you, not big insurance. They look at your doctors, your prescriptions, your whole situation, and tell you the truth with no propaganda, just facts. No maze, no pressure. Just clarity when the stakes are real. If you're already on the right plan, they'll say so. If not, they'll help you switch. It's free and it takes under 20 minutes. The number's on the screen. Give them a call at 910-728-4109. Last year, people who found new plans with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. Cut the fog and demand the facts. Now here's the detail that should keep burning after that break. Officer Chris Bagley testified that Charlie was not in some scuffle, not in some confusing blur. Charlie Kirk was answering a question from a kid when the shot cracked at 12:23. That one timestamp destroys every soft focus dodge before it even starts. A public event, a university, a conservative leader, a crowd running in panic. I'm going to show you some of the reactions because patriots see exactly what happened here. And after that, we're coming back to the ugliest part of all, what prosecutors say Tyler Robinson told other people before and after the killing. There's a lot to unpack here, so bear with me. New York Post cast posting Erica to face gruesome evidence.
Major court hearing begins today in Charlie Kirk's murder case, and it's going to be an emotional one. The conservative activist's parents and his widow, Erica, will likely be there to attend the 5-day preliminary hearing in Utah, where prosecutors will begin laying out their case against accused gunman Tyler Robinson. A judge will then decide whether it's enough for the case to move forward to trial. Prosecutors are expected to present graphic evidence, including video of the shooting and details from Kirk's autopsy. Now, attorneys agreed to warn Kirk's family before those portions take place in open court, so they can choose whether to remain in the courtroom. Robinson is accused of fatally shooting Kirk as he spoke before a crowd of thousands at Utah Valley University last September. Prosecutors are also expected to present messages that they say show Robinson admitting to the shooting in communications with his former roommate and lover, Lance Twiggs, along with video of Twiggs' interview with investigators. Now, Robinson has not yet entered a plea. In all likelihood, this case will move on to trial, and if convicted, he could face the death penalty.
So the hearings where prosecutors start putting the case on the table. Next, we get a clearer look at what they say they have: alleged admissions, DNA on the weapon, and a note targeting Charlie Kirk. Justice for Charlie. Accused assassin Robinson faces Kirk family in Utah courtroom today. The first major public showdown in the case. For the first time since the assassination, Charlie Kirk's parents and widow Erica sit across the aisle from Robinson, the 23-year-old charged with gunning down the conservative leader. Prosecutors laying out the case. Robinson allegedly admitting to shooting Kirk to his romantic partner, a group chat and family friend, DNA linking him to the murder weapon, testimony from investigators, autopsy results, ballistic reports, and videos from before, during, and after the killing. A note vowing to take out Kirk and texts expressing hatred for his views. The Kirk family's statement hits hard that Charlie was a beloved husband, son, father, friend, and brother. Every court date is a painful reminder of that loss for his kids and loved one. Robinson's team did not waive the hearing. They're forcing the state to show its hand. If the judge finds probable cause and looks overwhelming, he'll bind it over for full trial and arraignment where plea comes in, death penalty on the table.
Charlie Kirk's parents and widow Erica in a Utah courtroom.
Chanley Painter outside that courthouse in Provo, Utah with the details. Chanley.
Hey, Todd and Carly, good morning. We will be witnessing some tense and emotional moments inside this courthouse behind me. Family from both sides of the case will be inside the courtroom today, sitting just across the aisle from one another. And as you said, for the first time since her husband's assassination, Erica Kirk will come face to face with the man she believes is responsible.
I want there to always be full transparency, because what I don't want to have happen is for there not to be. And then I am relying then on social media and other news outlets to explain the narrative, rather than saying, hey, this is what happened. This is what here's all of the, it's just as hard, all of the facts on the table for you guys to see. And you guys can see on full display what happened to my husband. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts or confusion as to who did it and why.
This morning, the Kirk family released a statement ahead of today's critical hearing, saying this in part: Charlie was a beloved husband, son, brother, friend, and father. Every court proceeding serves as a painful reminder of his death and the loss that has irrevocably impacted our lives and the lives of his children. So in just a few hours, guys, prosecutors will begin laying out their case against 23-year-old Tyler Robinson for a preliminary hearing that will determine whether there is probable cause for this case to proceed to a trial. And this case, the prosecutors have a slew of evidence, including Robinson allegedly admitting he shot Charlie Kirk, to his romantic partner and roommate, to a group chat, and to a family friend before turning himself in just days after the shooting. And prosecutors also have DNA linking Robinson directly to the murder weapon and the ammunition. Plus, we will also expect to see testimony from investigators, autopsy findings, witness statements, ballistic reports, and videos from before, during, and after Kirk's killing. Now, Robinson's defense could have waived this hearing altogether, but they are making the state present its case now. And so we will see if or how they plan to actually counter any of the evidence presented in the hours to come today. And
so the state says evidence is heavy, and the family wants total transparency. And now we're finding out Donald Trump Jr. was in attendance at the preliminary hearing.
I have a reporter inside of the courthouse who also tells us that Donald Trump Jr. Is inside of the courtroom right now. There is immense security all over this property. There are agents on top of the roof. There's law enforcement all around us. Basically, anytime there's been any type of proceeding here in Provo, there's been immense security. It is very clear that this county and this state is taking this very seriously, Bill.
With Don Jr. inside, security locked down, the case is being treated with the seriousness it deserves. Next, Robinson arrives under armored escort as legal analysts point to the evidence that could drive the prosecution.
Is a criminal defense attorney and a Fox News contributor. He is live outside the courthouse in Provo, Utah. Catch us up. What do you, from your vantage point and your experience, look for in a hearing like this?
He actually just pulled into the courtroom moments ago. Armored vehicles, armed escort. So they're getting ready this morning in just a few minutes, I imagine, to get started. Here's what we're looking for. It's going to be a fairly straightforward hearing from the prosecution. They're going to probably present some forensic evidence in the form of ballistics, perhaps some DNA that was recovered from the suspect rifle as well. But a lot of this is going to turn towards evidence provided to the prosecution by Robinson himself. And what I mean by that is text messages that he made to his roommate and romantic partner, a letter that he left behind that was ostensibly a suicide letter that included his plans, and also the conversations that he had with Lance Twiggs, his romantic partner, are going to become, I think, probably the centerpiece of this entire prosecution. So we'll be hearing much of that over the course of the next few days.
So is this different, Josh?
Now we go outside the courthouse, where day one underway. Charges against him laid out in full. Here is Taylor Hansen outside the courthouse.
Taylor Hansen reporting with TPSA Frontlines. I'm standing outside the 4th District Courthouse here in Provo, Utah, where day one of what is expected to be a 5-day preliminary hearing is about to get underway in the case against Tyler Robinson. Robinson is charged with aggravated murder, discharge of a firearm causing death, obstruction of justice, and witness tampering in connection with the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. This week's proceedings are not the trial. Instead, prosecutors will present evidence in an effort to establish probable cause that the case should move forward to trial. Today, my focus will be on everything outside of the courthouse, covering the atmosphere, the security, media presence, potential protesters, supporters, and reactions from the members of the public, as one of Utah's most historic cases is about to get underway.
That's the scene outside the 5-day probable cause fight. Erica Kirk arrives to face the process no widow should ever have to endure. So she enters the courthouse. Next, Charlie Kirk's parents make the same walk as media and security crowd the entrance.
Folks, I need you not to encroach on my location here, please.
So the family's pain visible before a word even said. Next, more of Charlie's allies and conservative voices arrive. Charlie Kirk, friends of Charlie Kirk, Brandon Tatum and Jack Posobiec. So support for the Kirk family keeps showing up. Next, the level of security is Robinson believed to be brought by armored vehicle. Next, we turn to the family's own statement as they ask for prayers. Erica Kirk posting a statement on behalf of Charlie Kirk's immediate family, his parents Robert and Catherine, his wife Erica, and sister Mary. Charlie was a beloved husband, son, brother, friend, and father. Every court proceeding serves as a painful reminder of his death and the loss that has irrevocably impacted our lives and the lives of his children. We remain deeply grateful for the support, prayers, and kindness we have received. This outpouring has sustained us during the darkest days of our life. Out of respect for the judicial process, we will not be commenting further at this time. We ask for continued privacy as we navigate this process of immense grief. Next, this court is called to order. The judge formally recognizes Erica Kirk in the room.
Calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Counsel, can you enter your appearances, please?
Chad Grumander, Ryan McBride, David Sturgeon, State, Mr. Jeff Gray, County Attorney, Chris Ballard are also present.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kathy Nestor, Michael Burt, Richard Novak, and Stacy Visser here on behalf of Mr. Robinson, who's seated to my right.
Good morning. Mr. Robinson, good morning. For the record, the court also recognizes the presence of Ms. Erica Kirk. Ms. Kirk, good morning. First, with respect to courtroom protocol, to maintain security and decorum Any individual who exits the courtroom during proceedings will not be permitted to re-enter until the recess. All counsel are expected to take reasonable measures to safeguard confidential communication. Such measures may include the use of screen protections on electronic devices and care to avoid the inadvertent capture of privileged or private discussions by recording equipment or by those present in the courtroom. In addition, the microphones at your tables have been turned off. Again, in an attempt to try to minimize the possibility of any of the communication being captured. I ask that if you are speaking, that you come to the lectern, and that microphone will be live. And so that's the best way that we can hear you, and it is captured on the record.
With the hearing officially underway, Erica Kirk acknowledged by the court, the judge moves to lay down strict rules. Next, you hear the warning straight from the bench. Tyler is eligible for the death penalty if convicted.
Devices during the preliminary hearing is granted. As officers of the court, counsel shall be held to the same standards applicable to the counsel for the parties and comply with the court's standing decorum order. I wish to turn to the matter before us today, the upcoming preliminary hearing, and the court is mindful of the safety and well-being of all parties, counsel, witnesses, court staff, and members of the public who are present. The court is also mindful of the duty to protect and uphold the constitutional rights of both Mr. Robinson and Ms. Kirk. To serve those important interests, the court reminds all persons who will be in attendance that the portable electronic devices will not be permitted in the courtroom or on the fourth floor. In addition, each person who is in attendance will be afforded the dignity and respect due to them, and pursuant to the standing decorum order, all spectators shall be quiet, civil, and orderly. Spectators shall not engage in any distracting, disruptive, provocative, disrespectful, uncivil, or threatening behavior of any kind.
The court making it clear there'll be zero chaos and zero theatrics. Next comes the testimony. It starts reconstructing the assassination itself, beginning with the officer who heard the shot. Chris Bagley, an officer with the Spanish Fork Police Department, who was assigned to Utah Valley University for Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA event. He was the first witness in the preliminary hearing in the capital murder case against Tyler Robinson. So this goes on for about a couple minutes here.
See the right side of Charlie's shoulder, so not his whole body, because he was underneath the tent, so I could only see probably the right side of his body. He was answering a question, kid asked him a question, and then I heard a shot fired.
Do you know what time that was?
Yes.
What time was that?
12:23.
What did you see?
At that moment, I saw him lean to the left, so
When you say him, you see
Charlie.
Charlie?
So I saw him go to the left because I could no longer see the right side of his body. So he went further underneath the tent to the north side of the tent, so left.
Okay. Can you describe the reaction of others that were there?
Yeah, so then everybody started getting up and starting to run in more of a chaos kind of situation. In my terms, I'd say when I was up there looking down, I'd say there's several thousand people because you had it on the grass that was jam-packed, in the amphitheater sitting on the grass. You had people standing on the back up along the cement. You had people that were on the second level, the Sorensen, and over by the Woodbury building. There's another level there where a lot of people were standing and watching. So it was pretty packed, several thousand people.
You mentioned you heard something. What did you hear again?
I heard a gunshot.
Okay. And can you describe you described Mr. Kirk's reaction? Was that simultaneous to hearing the gunshot?
Yes, it was.
When he fell to the left?
Yes.
Did you see the reaction from the crowd?
Yes.
What was that?
Everybody kind of got up. They all said, a lot of people were screaming, standing up, and starting to run in all different directions away from the center of the tent.
Okay. You're a police officer helping to secure the area, correct?
Yes.
What did you do?
At that moment, I recognized it as gunfire. I left my post, which was right there on the south end of the Hall of Flags. I proceeded to right where the Fugle and the Hall of Flags meet. There's some outside stairs that I was starting to run down. As I was trying to get down to the bottom of the stairs, People are running up. People are laying down on the steps. I'm trying to jump over people to get to the bottom of the stairs so I can help stop an individual that's probably shooting.
What happened next?
By the time I got to the bottom of the stairs, I was informed on the radio that we had a shooter in custody. So I thought at that moment, I was like, oh, that was kind of fast. Obviously, it was close range probably because we had an individual in custody. Another officer came on and said we had an individual in custody. So I decided to, since the threat is gone, now I can assess for anybody that's injured and start looking for any medical needs that's needed at that moment.
So the first witness puts the courtroom back in the moment that Kirk was gunned down. Next, outrage grows after Robinson is seen laughing while Erica Kirk sits by in tears. Charlie Kirk's accused killer Tyler Robinson was seen laughing in court as Erica Kirk sat just a few feet away. Legacy Media is reporting that Erica and Charlie's parents had to leave as the killing was described in detail. People magazine says Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk's parents leave the courtroom as the police officer describes the moment he was killed. The emotional toll on Charlie Kirk's family is impossible to ignore. Next, the fight over the narrative kicks back up as critics call out Candace Owens for going after Erica after being told to stop. Now, I was kind of torn as to how to handle this because Candace Owens has been just on a tear ever since this moment happened. And I remember when, just days after, I said, what are you doing? Let Erica grieve. But Candace has not stopped. And Data Republican, if you don't know who that is, I would strongly encourage you to locate that X account and review the detailed thread that she has put together. There was just way too much that I could even present to you guys here. But this was a response to Data Republican's thread the moment Erica told Candace to stop exploiting Charlie's death, and Candace flipped out on her.
There was anything that could rile Charlie up, it's questioning his moral integrity. Yeah, they are very, very good people. Charlie and Erica are fantastic people. She made him happy, and I just want you guys to know that. And so when you're putting stuff out there, just imagine that you're in her shoes. Imagine the size and the scale of that company, and imagine that on top of everything, you've got people that are digging into every layer of your life and not necessarily getting everything right. This is a woman who consulted a priest and prayed when she felt that somebody had put a hex on her husband. And I just think everyone is being a little unfair by trying to assign so much ill will towards someone who hasn't done anything to warrant that. And I just really just feels to me like it's unfair. She has not come out and said anything to me that makes her suspicious. I would have been the first person if I felt that anything was there. Has Erica told that I'm supposed to be focused on? I haven't seen any reason to do that. I said early on, if Erica Kirk asks me to be quiet, I will be quiet.
Making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode, going after the people that I love. No, stop. To stop.
Are doing a couple of episodes to separate fact from fiction when it comes to the background of Erica Kirk. Something is not right.
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
Erica Kirk should be dragged into a police precinct for questioning. Amount of evidence that is now piling up, I would say, against Erica Kirk, allowing Ben Shapiro to open at AmFest behind her. Like I said, that was my clue something was wrong. Basically, Erica here is pulling the LBJ, and what I mean by that is as soon as LBJ got into office after JFK's assassination, he reversed course on every single one of JFK's policies. JFK's enemies seemingly became LBJ's friends. Erica appears to be doing that to me.
I struggle with even giving Candace any oxygen in this, but she's made so much noise it's impossible to ignore when it comes to the situation. So while the family is reliving the murder in court and battling outside smears, the courtroom itself reacts to the evidence. Next, even Judge Tony Graff appears to be shaken while watching the assassination footage. Judge Tony Graff flinches while watching the footage of Charlie Kirk being assassinated. So the ugliest fact in this entire case is not just the gunfire, it's the trail that Tyler Robinson left behind. Prosecutors say that Tyler Robinson did not keep silent. Tyler Robinson admitted the shooting to his romantic partner, to a group chat, and to a family friend. Investigators say that Tyler Robinson left a note vowing to take out Charlie Kirk. Take out Charlie Kirk. That's not confusion. That's not an accident. That's not the media's favorite little narcotic of context. That is a targeted strike against a conservative leader who stood in the arena for America first. While Erica Kirk leaves the courtroom in tears, the accused killer sits there under guard after an armored escort hauled him in. The moral verdict lands itself. So here's where this stands tonight. A judge in Provo heard the opening bricks of a case built from forensic evidence, ballistic evidence, DNA, witness testimony, admissions, and a note that cuts straight to motive. The death penalty stays on the table, exactly where it belongs for a crime this savage. Pray for Erica Kirk. Pray for Robert and Catherine Kirk. Pray for Charlie's children who get forced back into this wound every time the court calendar turns. But do not drift off into soft sorrow, because Charlie Kirk did not live softly and he did not build softly. He fought, he organized, he told the truth when the regime class hated him for it. Now patriots need full transparency, full accountability, and punishment that matches the evil laid out in court. If you want law and order, when the victim wears a red hat instead of a blue, a non-sticker, share this segment and make some noise. Charlie's voice is not going quiet, and neither are we. And that's exactly why we set up this telephone number just for you. We know you're not getting the notifications, and we want to make sure that you stay in the loop. Thousands and thousands of patriots already are. They've texted the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. Make sure that you stay in the loop too. And this feels so stupid to even plug some freaking merch right now, but it's what we do, right? Support the network. Go to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Salty Nationalist dropping a super chat. Stay frosty, stay strapped, stay dangerous. Never believe everything you see or hear online. Watch credible sources and listen. MAGA. Thank you, Salty Nationalist. 45,000 people watching right now. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and sharing this live broadcast at Next News, at Trump Daily Posts, on YouTube, on Rumble, everywhere we're streaming live. You guys make the difference when you share these reports, when you copy the link and pass them along. That's how we grow this movement together. We're not going silently. We are forging ahead with truth, as hard as it may be to hear. Because truth is treason in an empire of lies, as Congressman Paul once said. And we are here to smash the lies. We're doing it with your help. Thank you for watching. May God bless you, and God bless the great United States of America.